We will call the City of Hayes regular commission meeting for April 13th to order. All 5 commissioners are present. First item on the order of business is the consideration of approval of the minutes from March 23, 2023. Questions, changes, or comments on those?
I have none.
They will stand approved as presented. Citizen comments for non-agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Just some mayoral appointment recommendations for the Planning Commission, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Advisory Committee, Housing Authority Board, and the Public Library Board.
Move approval of the consent agenda, including all nominations to appropriate boards and committees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on those?
You got some great candidates there, sir.
You did.
Thank you. All right. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up, the Ellis County Historical Society update.
Still
Mrs. Rupp.
Everyone needs to stand up here, but
We make you.
okay. You guys are efficient. I like it. We're getting there. Hi, I'm Amanda Rupp. I think everyone knows me. Maybe I haven't introduced myself to the new commissioner. Welcome. And thanks, guys, for having us and give you a little update. I'll try not to take up a lot of your time, but we have so much going on. I want to talk about all of it, and I want to share it. So I brought a slide. I think when I was on the schedule earlier this year, I was just going to share with you our annual report, but I'm sure you've gotten a chance to look it over, and it just talks about some of the accomplishments we had in 2022, a little bit of our strategic plan highlights for what we plan on doing this next year, and we are already off and running with most of it. And that's what I will show you a little bit of now. Try not to hit all these. These are presentations I take with me to other civic groups, but they've got a lot of cool pictures in them. But we did kick off our fundraising campaign for our phase 2 of our restoration project on our main building. So this is mainly what this is about. As you know, that the limestone church was built in 1879. That's a rendition of it when it had the door on the north side. It's obviously been changed since that, and you guys know our history that we've been closed. We were closed for a while after 2019 and off campus, and now we're back on campus, so I'll leave that alone. This is another interesting picture. I just love it. Shows all the changes. The tower was added, an east wing was added, and it actually was taken down before they added that red stone brick church that's now stands there. So just another interesting building. Obviously, our primary goals since last summer, after we got our 2021 goal was to get everything back on campus, start organizing, find our mission and our purpose again, and do it efficiently. Our 2022 goal was to whether we were going to build new, remodel, buy something else, move off campus, and they decided in 2022 in the summer to unanimously save the building. We're going to stay there. We're going to put all our efforts towards it. So that's what we've been up to. These are just pictures of that first month I got the keys, actually after I did a little bit of cleaning up, but the offices in the lower level were separated into small little rooms, some archival rooms, research things, and that was part of our phase 1, just to remodel that. I liked that quote better because for every minute of organizing, an hour is earned. I hope that's in heaven because I will have a lot. And we're still going. So our phase 1 was to get home back to that office area, and we had a generous anonymous donation from a friend of the society that wanted to see us back in the building, not spending money on office rent, and being able to see members of the public at our home space. So we took on that and got it done in record time, June 1st through November 1st. We were able to gut it, remodel it, take all the artifacts out of the sub-basement, assess any that were beyond our reasonable resources to deal with, and then go ahead and start remodeling the basement project with a lot of volunteer hours. That's one of our trustees, Deb Ludwig, up there painting. She says she loves to paint, so we got lots more for her. We took down all the individual offices and made it into one large open room you see there on the right. Now we have a wonderful space that we can have people visit, some office space. We still have our archival area separate, and no artifacts are being stored in the basement or sub-basements. currently they're all upstairs, or most of them are off on our other building. But this room is rather large. It's bigger than this room. And we can use it for our board meetings, presentations. We will be having a traveling display in there this summer from the Smoky Hill Museum out of Salina called Notorious. So it'll be down there. We also have our bookstore and our museum goods for sale down there as well. Oops, I went backwards. That's just a picture of some of our archives. You'd seen the other ones where they're all over the floor and mismatched, but now you can see, you can come in there. It's not necessarily all cataloged yet on the computers in an index, but old-fashioned thumbing through stuff, and it's available for you. So I just would like to mention we opened our doors for regular hours January 1st, and we've seen over 100 visitors, which is more than I saw when I was there as an assistant years ago, in the springtime. So a lot of them were here to see what kind of research material we had, what people wanted to know. We've built up quite a volunteer army, I call them, of people, and Jerry Brown, who just recently got inducted into something Hall of Fame, I can't remember what. He's our trustee as well, and he's bringing high school students over every month, once a month, to help us get small projects done. So, but we move on to phase 2 since we finished phase 1, and that is our big ticket item. We need to address this infrastructure of the building. Obviously, the roof has been fixed. The mortar and exterior joints had all, started to fail. It hadn't been taken care of in a while. We have a company working on that right now. I'm sure you've seen them with their cranes up in the air. So that will all be worked on. Also, we wanted to make sure that right now our lower level is where we're doing most of our business, where we're having most of our visitors. We wanted accessibility to that lower level, so we wanted to plan for a ADA bathroom and a ramp access. Even though it's like half below ground, there's about 5 steps. And then, of course, the HVAC system, which is, I think, that air handler alone is 40 years old. The boiler system, I think, is original to the building. It's pretty bad. So these were our goals for phase 2. But, of course, we couldn't start on any of the interior stuff until this exterior stuff was taken care of so that we can have a nice, sealed, functional building so that we can put all those improvements in. And they are working on that now, so we are very excited. This is just a rendering of what we were hoping to have. Our main bathroom, which was 2 stalls, turned into one family ADA bathroom, and then on the south side of the building, having some handicapped accessible parking and a curator lab to properly address any of those artifacts that we continue to get, or the enormous amount that we still have. That's just another rendering of what the backside might look like. Not exact, but enough for 2 spaces and a ramp entrance on that backside. So these are the wonderful costs associated with those renovations. So the basement accessibility, we've already started with the restroom retrofit. We have assessed, since our campaign started, just by sending out letters and private donations, we have already collected about $44,000 in individual donations. So we went ahead and started with the restroom restoration, a retrofit, excuse me. The exterior masonry repairs to both limestone and the brick church building are going to be 80% funded by the Heritage Trust Fund grant from the Kansas State Historical Society. So about $84,000 coming from Kansas State. The gutter replacement has already been done a couple weeks ago. That just came out of what little we have left in our capital account. And then the big ticket item, obviously, is that new HVAC system throughout the entire building. And we are applying for some grants for that and taking any personal checks. So this is just some of the stuff that I've already went over. That $133,000 includes the Heritage Trust Fund grant. But like I said, personal checks, anything over $5,000, we'd love to honor you on our wall, telling everybody forever how much importance you put on, not necessarily the flashy stuff that goes outside, but the important stuff. So these are just some of the reasons why we do what we do and what we have in our collections. I told you last year that we had probably 27 typewriters. We still have about 16 of them. Now there are so many things that need to be cataloged, and we're saving and worth preserving with the proper humidity, proper HVAC system. That one on the right is actually we have about 300 county docket books from the early 1800s, or excuse me, early 1880s, maybe even a little bit before that, of anything from land purchases and notices to appear or whatever. This one is actually talks about the probate for Alexander Ramsey, the sheriff that was killed in Stockton in 1875, chasing horse thieves. We also got the whole Hayes Daily News County news galley of all their old newspapers. And then, of course, all the Sternberg, besides their artifacts that we dredged out of the storage last year, we have quite a significant amount of their photo collection as well. So we are really working on telling people that this is the most important part. It's not the flashiest part, but we can't let this happen again. And so I want to skip that slide because it's painful. But this is another picture of where some of the artifacts went. The main gallery still has storage for that, and we can't address that area until we come up with some adequate storage. So that will be part of phase 3 after we seal the building, get some accessibility to the basement, and really get a head start on that HVAC system, which we're working with Glassman with that, and they are able to piece that together as we can afford, not do the entire building at once, make sure that we're comfortable in the basement for the next couple of years, and as we get further along, they can address some more. But this space is beautiful. We can't wait to open it up again someday, and that would be obviously our triumph at the end of phase 3 would be to open our doors, permanently, all hours. I don't know what I missed. Trying not to waste too much time and talk too long. I think I had a couple things I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned. We have been able to, with the increase in budget, the 2 main staff are still part-time, but their hours have increased to 20 and 30 hours instead of 10 and 20 hours a week. We have been able to hire an administrative assistant for a few hours a week as well that does some clerical and bookwork. We will be utilizing 2 next generation Roundup for Youth interns this summer that will be doing a lot of the archival and curation work, the real fun data entry kind of stuff. And I think I already mentioned the Notorious exhibit. So we want to make sure that we are open this summer with the interns and stuff. We're going to have more open hours instead of our current open hours from 10 to 4, Monday through Thursday, but hopefully open 7 days a week for that tourist season. And there will be no charge still this summer. We're not open fully to the public. I think that it's a service to our town and our history and something for people to do. In the Stone Church, we will have the firearms exhibit continue to be up. We were adding some weapons that weren't on display last summer and some Native American artifacts that weren't on display, so you could stop in and see both the Notorious and the firearms collection on display. And we will hopefully be hosting some other speakers from the Kansas Humanities this coming fall. We have lots on the plate. I could talk forever. Does anybody have any questions?
Don't ever apologize for taking our time, Amanda, because this is such great information that you bring forth these last few times. It was not always that way. And so it's really nice to have you coming. I do have a couple of questions. During the Phase 2 process, has the county increased any giving to you?
Not for capital. They did increase last year. We had been for, 3-5 years prior, had been sitting at about 72.
Mm-hmm.
And they increased it to 100 this year. It was still below the ask of, but I think I don't have the numbers correctly off the top of my head, but in about 2012 to 2015, they were up in $130,000 category. So I'd like to definitely at least get back up to that kind of operating budget 10 years later, so that we can do some real work, some museum work. This is fun for me, this management of these kinds of projects, but ultimately we're there for the museum and the collections. So.
Do you have any, can you tell me dollars of grants that you've received since you were last here? Ballpark?
Let's see. Yeah, about 3 from Heartland. The 20,000 from Schmidt. 100 to $130,000 maybe.
You're writing pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Very good.
And we just I kind of keep it under my hat a little bit because I'm anxiously waiting the news. But the Sprint grant that the city or the downtown was going to try for the stage area, we did go ahead and throw in our hat for a sister site over in Victoria, which would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not that I'm killing birds. But, would alleviate our storage area and also what I consider our age-old challenge of which do we display the most of with our limited space, either Volga German history or Wild West, Hayes, entrepreneurship history. And I think with a sister site, we could do both very well.
That was going to be my last question. I knew that you had made some arrangements and started with the Victoria project. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going to be there, how much space that's going to leave you here, and what that's going to cost you, your share of whatever's happening? Is it just rent, or are you adding to, do you have to pay for the remodel?
So we have a preliminary lease agreement that we haven't signed yet until we get all the other ducks in a row funding, but it was set originally for basically a 10-year lease minimum that our upgrades to our portion of the building, which is about 9,000 square feet, would be our rent.
Would be the rent.
Right, basically
Okay.
for the first 10 years. We'd have to cover, our general operating costs and some insurance for our portion. But it would be that first south, the main entrance of that building.
Right.
With the nice arches. And it would include that 2-story
Oh,
area.
yeah. Mhm.
Our storage would actually be up in the second story of that off limits to public area. And then the dining hall and the original chapel and those areas and the kitchen would be nice open gallery spaces.
Very nice.
Hopefully to highlight the Volga German ancestors, Grant, and the railroad, oil industry in Kansas, and the Walker Army Airfield are the main topics. So.
Thank you. I see Mary Kay in the audience. I think there's really great things happening over there. I hear you got some good news, which I won't share.
She's a wonderful, wonderful partner to work with. So.
But congratulations on that. That was a big deal. So I'm proud of all of the work that you're doing and proud of everything that's going on in Victoria right now because it's been amazing. But having new space and being able to give yourself some more space here, that's really a great collaboration of the 2 organizations.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's all I have. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have you guys thought about in the summertime with the added travelers possibly being open a little bit later, maybe 1 day a week?
Yeah, we have. I'm just trying to see what the availability of
Right.
the other 2 interns are. But yeah, and we're also starting that's one thing I forgot to put on there. Tuesday evenings, like a volunteer work night. We're going to be processing a lot of those artifacts over the summer, cleaning them and doing a little bit of light maintenance. And so every second Tuesday of the month, we will be there from 6 to 8. You guys want to come on down?
I just know as a business owner, you get a lot of travelers and they'll ask, what else is there to do downtown? I think that'd be a great place to send people, and I think the DHCC would probably help, advertise that and promote, what you guys are doing. And I just want to say I love this book. It kind of shows what you guys have done, what you're doing. And for me, that tells me a lot. And I like, how you got businesses involved, community members involved. I'll be honest, I know you were on board from day one, but you challenged them. I was probably the worst one up here saying there is no way. Just because we've heard it before. We've heard it from other, directors. And
But you didn't know Amanda.
I did know Amanda. You're right. And so, but you know, that
It's
was.
not all me. It's not
I know.
Well, but you got a lot of people behind you, and I appreciate that. But it was hard for me to just like, you know, I just couldn't see that, you know, what was going to happen. And this book shows me a lot what you guys have done and what the future is, and really appreciate the hard work you guys have done, and look forward to seeing what's going to, you know, come in the future for you guys.
I'm excited for what we can do. I mean, I'm really excited if the possibility is there for Victoria site, but I'm really excited for what opportunities we can have in downtown
Yes.
Yeah.
as well, because that's a great property down there. So.
Well, I hope.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I hope you can get it towards sustainable to where it can be even better as the years go on, and you know, because you know people move on and stuff, and then things go backwards. But
Yeah.
hopefully, you can get to a point where
We
it's.
have been, just on a side note, we have been working on our, you know, the society's interior documents and things that had been not addressed or looked at since maybe inception. We still had on our bylaws that you have to contact everybody 3 days in advance by mail.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're going through those too as time allows.
Great job.
Are you, I bet you are, but I'll ask anyway, are you aware of the volunteer fair at the library next
Yes.
week? Okay, good. I think they're gonna have a nice turnout, so hopefully you'll get some there.
I was just going to echo both of them a little bit in that I really commend you and your board on choosing to restore the building and keep it and not build new. So thank you.
Now, there's so many changes. I was wondering if you had anybody develop a nice app so you could take it out and look at the building and see how it looked like back when it was the old
You took my
limestone
idea.
and they changed it into.
Sure. Oh. Say, I would love that. I am looking for an intern at some point, especially one with technology that would revamp our walking tour. That could do like a Pokemon Go kind of thing, where you'd walk and you'd hold it up to the building and you could see a sketch or a rendering or even a photograph of what that building used to look like next to modern. And I would do it, of course, if I had the time. But
Wasn't it CVB talking about doing that at one time with like all the walking?
That was more of just here's what's here app, not that intricate as they're
like
talking
a
about.
QR code kind of thing.
Yeah,
Put it
right.
up there, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's.
but yes, there was some talk about.
If you know of any, especially through the Next Generation Roundup for Youth internship, or even through the Fort Hayes internship,
They never.
I'd love to. You know, it might be a multi-semester, multi-year project. Anybody that's really interested in technology and history. Send them my way.
I bet there's somebody out there. Fort Hayes is great access for that.
See, I'm happy to give you the credit for that cool idea. I just wanted you to get it out there so
Thank
people
you. I'm
could see
not-
that and maybe jump in and.
Yes, and I will take as much help as we can get. And on that note, we are hosting. Hayes will be hosting the Kansas Museums Association this year, and I, you know, tooting a little bit of my own horn, we did get recognized quite a bit at the Kansas Museum Association when it was held in Topeka last year, and we're excited to have them here. So.
That's great.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Really good stuff.
It's really great to see what you guys have done in such a short amount of time, too. And with the amount of people that you have and the amount of volunteers you have had has been extraordinary. So thank you very much for your continued hard work.
I learned a little bit of planning and organizing somewhere in college. I'm not aware, but I think that's what it
You
took.
learned it
It's,
well.
it's paid off. That's
Paid
for
off.
sure.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you so
questions or
much.
comments? Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Amanda.
Of course. All right. Now we'll move on to the 13th Street Reconstruction KDOT agreement.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Brown, Project Manager, standing in for Jesse Rohr, the Public Works Director, who is not available this afternoon. He presented to you last week at the work session on this topic. And as you will recall, this project is located on 13th Street from east of the high school out to Commerce Parkway. The proposed project is to widen what is now a narrow 2-lane asphalt street into a 3-lane street with shoulders, and to extend a 8-foot wide walking path along the north side of that improvement. You will recall that previously we awarded an engineering contract with MKEC last commission meeting. And so now we're considering a KDOT agreement to establish the terms of the cost share grant that we received from them. And so in kind of going back over the school schedule, the design beginning now with the contract we have with MKEC now for a bid letting toward the end of this year and construction to begin in the spring of next year. The total project cost is estimated to be about $2.45 million, with about half of that, $1.2 million, being funded by the KDOT cost share program. The elements of the KDOT agreement include that the project would be let locally. We'll advertise and bid, open the bids here, and we will administer the project, and then it's a reimbursement program. Once we've incurred the costs, we submit those to KDOT for reimbursement. We have the KDOT agreement includes that we hire a licensed engineer to design the project. We've done that already. The design plans must be according to our local specifications, but reviewed and approved by KDOT. And it must be bid by August of 2024, which we fully intend to bid it well before August of 24, and that the project must be completed within 2 years of the bid letting date. So I don't think we're going to have any trouble meeting the KDOT contractual requirements for accomplishing the work. And then the city would have to provide for the inspection of the project by qualified personnel. We do have qualified personnel in-house to do the inspection of this project, so we can minimize the costs by using our own people to do that. As far as financial considerations, as I already mentioned, the total project cost is estimated to be $2.45 million. The design agreement was $120,000. That's rolled into that $2.45 million, with KDOT funding $1.2 million of that. The city has budgeted up to $750,000, and the county has budgeted up to $500,000 for local funds. So the option is to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with KDOT or to direct staff otherwise. And the action requested is on the screen, and I would stand for questions.
I move to authorize the mayor to enter agreement number 088-23 with the Kansas Department of Transportation for KDOT project number U-2476-01 cost share program, 13th Street reconstruction.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
John, I just have a question. Is there any concern with all the heavy traffic out there with the new school being built and this going on at the same time? That, I mean, is it with damage to the new, I mean, with it all going on at the same time, it just seems like a lot going on out there at once.
I really don't think so. You know, we can coordinate the construction because the school itself is going to be having some construction that involves entrances and widening out, adding a turn lane and stuff like that. So it's actually, the timing will probably be pretty good. That it's likely that our project will probably be a little bit in advance of the school's project. That's nothing we can't manage. We can coordinate all that to make that work seamlesly.
Perfect.
I felt like there was an underlying question there, and apparently not, so I'm going to ask it, what I think. Is there any issue with everything that's going to be going on with that construction and all the construction equipment and going in and out? Is that going to be any problem with our new road?
That's kind of what I was trying to say.
No,
Yes.
I really don't think so. I think that the school campus itself has several different access points, and even coming in off of 12th Street off of Canterbury along the south side, and a lot of the building is going to be going on back from that back side there, and then going on even from their new entrance and stuff like that. So I think what the point might be made that, and I think I had mentioned it previously when I talked to you about this a couple of weeks ago with the design engineering side of it, was that we are doing asphalt, which we're doing asphalt widening of the existing road, and then we're going to overlay the whole thing. And that using the asphalt provides a lot of flexibility in construction phasing and stuff like that, which will allow us to be doing different things in different areas and keeping things open and accessible as construction goes on. So
Thank you.
John, I want to add to that. When we did the roundabouts on Vine, we had a lot of people, because they were taking different routes, and started contacting us about complaining about we were damaging other roads because they were, heavy traffic. Is there any with all that, the intersections with the school and stuff? I mean, is that something we've thought about, because people are going to be driving different areas and possibly heavy traffic?
I mean, there's always that possibility, especially, there is somewhat of a grid layout up in that neighborhood with the streets running north and south,
Right.
Agnes and Anthony and all those, and then 17th Street running over and tying into Tallgrass Drive and coming out further there. And then I think the intent would be to divert any through traffic on up to 22nd Street or down to Old 40 for sure, so that the people that would normally be driving through on 13th Street, they would be diverted and encouraged, and we would do educational awareness and community service type public service announcements to educate the public and those traveling through, and even with signage and construction signage, to get that type of traffic off. Local traffic is still going to we're going to have to maintain that. People have to be able to get to where they're going, so we can't eliminate all that. And but the streets in those areas are in pretty good shape. I mean, they can withstand a little extra traffic. Now, if we have, obviously, we're not going to let the school or something like that have a truck route where we're hauling, 100 dump trucks a day on our local residential roads. Right. But like I say, those are all things that we manage. It's part of a project. So.
Perfect. Thanks, John.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
All right. 2023 Sanitary Sewer Cleaning and Inspection Awarded Bid.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeff Grisman, Director of Water Resources. The Department of Water Resources is continuing its annual program to clean sanitary sewer mains and ensure proper operation and maintenance of our collection system. This is the 2023 project area. It's the area outlined in red. It's the northwest part of Hayes. It's 682 linear feet of sanitary sewer line, which actually is about 22.3 miles of sewer. Kind of try to incorporate some of the answers from the questions from last week. Commissioner Musil asked if we've seen a lot of issues in this area of town, and the answer is no. We typically, when we do our point repair projects and our lining projects, we see more of those repairs in the southern area of town and the older parts of town of our system. It is a good practice to keep professional cleaning and inspection of our system, and that's why we do that every 5 years in these areas, and I'll explain kind of how we figure that out. This visual is included in your packets. Every red line there, that is the 22.3 miles of sewer line that will be cleaned and inspected with this project. This is a visual I've included the past couple years, and I'll continue to bring it back every year with this project. This is the order of cleaning, or what I call our plan. In 2022, we had Section 5 cleaned and inspected down there in the far southeast portion of the city of Hayes. So that was done by ProPipe. We are in Section 1, as I mentioned, for 2023. This area was last cleaned in November of 2018 by ProPipe, and that was exactly 5 years ago. In 2024, we'll just continue the process. We'll move to Section 2. That section was completed back in October of 2019, once again keeping us on a 5-year rotation. Mayor Reuter, you asked if all sections have been cleaned over that rotation, and I did go back and verify that every rotation is set correctly, and we've done each section within the last 5 years.
Thank you.
Each section is approximately, like I said, 22 miles long. If you add them all up, we have a little bit over 110 miles of sanitary sewer in our collection system that our folks have to maintain. This is a picture of what a sewer jet vac truck would look like. And then in the background, you see there is a camera van. That was taken on Oak a couple years ago near Hayes Middle School. Thought it was a pretty darn good picture. Problems that can be caused by lack of sewer line cleaning include sewer backups, manhole overflows, public exposure to raw sewage, and could have regulatory fines. A nozzle is inserted from one manhole to another using high pressure jetting to remove debris that are in the line. This is an example of what a cleaning nozzle may look like inside of a pipe. The nozzle is pushed with a jet of water from one manhole to another. Again, that debris is collected at the downstream manhole, and then it's hauled off and disposed of in our drying beds or our wastewater treatment facility. The camera inspection does occur at the same time as cleaning. The camera inspection allows the jetting nozzle to, the camera inspection follows, the jetting nozzle to ensure that we're getting cleaning and inspection at the same time through that pipe. Every pipe will get light cleaning, and that's one pass through that sewer line. And that's what we're charged for at minimum. So all 22.3 miles will see light cleaning. If they have to do 2 or 4 passes when they're in there, that consists of medium cleaning, and that's an additional charge. 5 or more passes through a sewer line would be heavy cleaning, and there's an additional cost for that. The cost for cleaning for light sewer for the company that we're proposing was around 94 cents per linear foot, which was very aggressive. Video inspection has also been required, as I mentioned, as part of the program. It helps us provide early detection of flaws and allows for repairs to be made before a catastrophic failure could happen. It allows the contractor, while they're in the line, and the city staff to make decisions based on cleaning methods and any repairs that might be necessary. Previous inspections have produced records of abandonments, and that's where the camera could not get through the line because something's blocking it, or cracks, holes, tree root issues, other things that we do see within those sewer lines. We use that information to make informed decisions about a program for repairs to our sewer system, and those are part of the programs that we bring in front of you every year. We started point repairs and lining projects back in 2018, and they're separate projects. I've mentioned this before. One year we'll do point repairs, the next year we'll do lining, and we just kind of keep that rotation year by year. This includes dig and place point repairs, internal patches, and lining from manhole to manhole. And you may recall that recently I was in front of you and you awarded a project with Mayor Specialty Services. They are actually in town right now starting on that project, and that's to line 10,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer lines from manhole to manhole. So all the repairs that we do are due to these video inspections and then the work that it takes in the background to go through all that information. We have been very aggressive in the last 5 years with our collection system, and that is something I'm pretty proud of. This is some of the things that you might see. We've taken care of a lot of issues like this, but this was what was called a crossbore. It was a fiber that was actually put through one of our sewer lines on the east side of town. We found it, we got a hold of the contractor, the utility, I guess, and they rerouted it. They fixed the sewer main at their cost, and we had it inspected in-house with our Office of Project Management.
Excuse me, Jeff.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? Do we know everyone, I guess, that happens?
Well, as we go through every year and do 22
Okay.
miles, we may find something. I think things are getting a lot better because things are being located correctly. You know, Kansas 811 one call. I think that's getting a lot more accurate, so we're not seeing them happen as much. But as we run across them, we try to get them taken care of right away. That way, there's nothing impeding the flow.
It won't last any more than 5 years, 'cause
Yeah.
we'll get through the place.
Right.
Very good. This is another thing that we sometimes find in our sewer lines. This is a before and after photo of what's called a root ball at a pipe joint. The photo on the right is the cutting tool removing the root ball in the line. The cutting tool is coming towards the camera, and the majority of the root ball has already been removed. So the thing about what you see on the left side, as long as we're keeping a program going, we won't get them to get that bad, but that is something that can be seen. So in February, we released an RFP on the website, on our city's website. We released to 9 companies. I contacted the 9 companies with our RFP. On the 7th of March, we opened bids from the 4 companies, and this is the prices for light sewer line cleaning. The low bid of light cleaning for 8-inch pipe was CC Steel of LLC of Maple Plain, Minnesota. That is $110,621.08. Now, like I had mentioned before, their light cleaning price was 94 cents per linear foot. That's why their price is pretty low. While we haven't worked with CC Steel, the company themselves before, all their references, they had great references, and the superintendent and the 3 people that work under that superintendent came from Pipe Detectives, which is a company we've used on 2 previous years. And so their superintendent and their crew is familiar with Hayes, and we were comfortable with recommending CC Steel as part of this project. Before I go on, the estimated time would be starting somewhere before November 1st, and then by the end of December. And I mentioned this at the work session. The reason why it's that late in the year for them is because they're up north, and this is considered warmer climate for them to work, and so they would like to move south through this project. So on financial consideration, in addition to the approval of CC Steel to perform light cleaning at $110,621.08, we are requesting your authority to spend up to $140,000. That additional authority would cover if we have to do medium or heavy cleaning in those lines where needed. Protruding tap removal, that's where they can go in. If a tap has kind of got into the sewer line, they can go in and grind that tap out. Root removal, and when needed, they could do small, medium, or larger patches to our system. So if you choose to approve tonight, we ask that you accept the proposal from CC Steel, provide us alternate direction, or do nothing. And this would be the action I would request. And I would stand for any questions.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with CC Steel LLC to perform light cleaning, video inspection of 117,682 linear feet, the sanitary sewer at a price of $110,621.08 with a budget authority not to exceed $140,000 to be funded from the repairs and maintenance line item in the water reclamation and reuse budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Jeff?
That's a lot.
I would like to, it's interesting to me because this is just now the start of the second pass, right? So we've had 5 years, so we know there was lots of issues the first time we went through everything, right?
Right.
So I can ask you, I can do it 2 different ways. I can ask you to speculate, but saving that, I would like a report next year on how much,
The difference.
what is the difference in, let's say, how many fewer medium and heavy passes will have to be made this time around for this section than there was the first time we did this section? Because I would expect that 5 years from now it'll even be less. So if we continue this maintenance, it should essentially become relatively less expensive because there will be fewer issues
Hope so.
each time around. But I'd really love a report next year when this gets done as a comparison.
No, absolutely. That sounds good to me. And I suspect in this area we won't, we don't have a lot of sewer repairs that we have to make, and you see that in the other areas. But we'll continue to do that, Commissioner, each year on each section. And we'll come back with a report on that.
Jeff, when you go and do this, what kind of interruption of service is there or notification you have to do to residents?
That's a great question. As part of the project, we do a project release that goes out to the media of where the area is going to be. We used to do a daily one of where they were going to be, but as part of the contract, the contractor that comes in, they have to give out a 24-hour door knocker notice. So they are walking an area, they're walking up to the house, they're putting something on the door in the mailbox that basically tells them there's going to be cleaning in your area the next 24 hours, and here's a phone number you can call if you have any issues or any concerns. We get, from time to time, we do get some concern calls, but it's not as much as when we first started, because I think people are getting used to this program and they know it's coming. So, but yeah, 24-hour notices do go out, and we do make sure we share everything on social media and through media outlets.
And if you have to do a point repair, is there any interruption service for that? And if so, how long?
It just depends on the point repair. Typically, no. If there was a longer situation where we would have to do what's called a bypass of sewer, that's a pretty extensive project, but usually on the point repairs, they may actually do those repairs at a lower flow time of the day. So there's not so much passing through the pipe, but they're pretty quick about, when they expose what they need to take care of, they've sectioned in pipe, they've got the clamps ready to go, they know what they need to do, and they cut it and get it installed quickly. But no interruption of services.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Jeff. Now move on to the manhole rehabilitation award bid.
Once again, good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. The Department of Water Resources initiated a manhole rehabilitation program in 2018 to lengthen the lifespan of manholes needing repair. There are 2,172 sanitary sewer manholes in the city of Hayes. This is our 6th consecutive year of professionally rehabilitating sanitary sewer manholes, and I intend to bring this project, as well as the others, back to commission each year as part of our maintenance program. Staff received 2 bids this year for the 2023 program, and this was bid out to rehabilitate 60 manholes. Due to the favorable bid we received from Mayor Specialty Services, we selected 40 additional manholes that are eligible for rehabilitation, and we could do that within your budget authority if you choose to give that to us. This year, the project is to perform rehabilitation of manholes in the southwest portion of our city. And this is the area from Main over to Fort Hays State Campus, extending north up to 13th Street. It's about 6th Street up to 13th Street within that range. That's that area that's outlined in green on the map. When we had the favorable bid, we went out and we looked at 40 additional manholes, and that area is selected. That's east of Main over to Milner Street, between about 7th Street up to about 13th Street is where these additional 40 are. Here's a closer visual of the manholes selected for our 2023 project, and this was put into your packets. There are 60 we identified in that area. Since 2018, the city has had 264 manholes rehabilitated, which does average out to be about 53 manholes per year. I will say that really we started the year after year process in 2018. We did do a few back in 2014 kind of as a test, and I'll show you where those are here in just a bit. Like I said, due to the favorable bid from Mayor Specialty Services, we chose these manholes within this area that I mentioned, east of Main, all the way over to the Milner area and up towards about 13th Street. Those are shown on red in the visual that was in your packets as well. Manholes are a critical part of our wastewater collection system as they provide access to maintenance and inspection and cleaning of our sanitary sewer lines. The sewer inspection program that we started in 2013, has assisted in selecting manholes that are needing of rehabilitation. The program, along with our staff inspections, physically actually opening the manholes and making sure whether or not that structure needs to be rehabilitated, has allowed for the creation of priority repairs to our system. Here's some of the problems that you can find within manholes. High hydrogen sulfide areas, those can deteriorate the brick and the mortar and the concrete. Loose material, debris, oil, grease, loss of mortar and bricks, concrete failure, physical damage, also infiltration and inflow. So groundwater, when groundwater table's high, that can allow water to come into those manholes, or storm water through a broken lid or ring. And the more storm water that gets into our system, the more it has to go down and be treated at the wastewater treatment facility. So it's important just to try to keep those things out of our system. Also erosion are issues. So why are they important? I've mentioned they allow us access. So they allow that contractor or city staff to actually get in and do maintenance and inspection of our sanitary sewer lines. Failure of one could block a line, cause overflows. Our equipment that we have doesn't necessarily go to the depths of some of these sewer lines. So if we have to excavate something that's really deep, we might have to hire an outside contractor. And then also if one fails, people or vehicles could be harmed in a failure of a manhole. What does this project address? The concrete or the brick structure within the manhole, and then also that ring and lid if necessary on the top. We don't see that we're replacing a lot of rings and lids due to where these are usually located, but we have the ability to do that. We bid that out as a separate price within the project, but like I said, really over the last 4 years, we haven't had to replace one with a contractor, so we're real fortunate on that. The contractor, at the time that they're working on a manhole, they will work with city staff to determine the best course of action if a ring or lid does need to be replaced. Here's a before photo of a manhole that needs rehabilitation. It's a photo from our system that had been repaired. Concrete was degrading on the sides of this manhole and fallen to the bottom. Concrete at the bottom of the manhole could affect the flow of the sewer and could cause backups or issues with that sewer line. So what they do with this project is they remove the loose material And then every single manhole in our system will get relined with a 1-inch thick fiber reinforced cement. It's called MS2A. Mayor Reuter, you had kind of asked about MS2A last week, and it is a standard material that is widely used for manhole rehabilitation in a lot of systems. What they do is they go to restore that surface, that smooth surface, and any missing brick or voids or anything where water's seeping in, they take care of it, and that's what it looks like when the manhole is completed. In some situations, where it might be a larger collector line within that manhole or hydrogen sulfide's higher, we have to do some additional treatment on top of that MS2A, and that's where this polyurethane comes in. So every manhole is going to get MS2A, but about 20 of our 60 original manholes, they will need polyurethane to be applied over this concrete to restore the structure of those manholes. In this project as well, sewer remains in service. We don't have to shut down sewer. We would inspect it in-house. We get a standard warranty, and workmanship and materials is 1 year. Commissioner Cunningham, you had asked last week about how long should we expect these to last, and industry recommendation and industry standard says 50 to 60 years by just rehabbing these manholes. So I think it's a good practice. Really, typically you see the price will range between $1,000 to $3,000 per manhole. It's going to be on the upper end of that range when you have to do the additional polyurethane treatment. But that $1,000 to $3,000 as maintenance to get 50 to 60 years is better than having to replace a manhole. If we have to go in and have one dug up, replaced, it could be $15,000. It could be even more because some of those are a little bit deeper. So I think a maintenance program is really, really good. As I mentioned, 2,172 manholes in our system. Completing about 50 per year would allow for a 50-year cycle, better than a 50-year cycle. While we are able to complete additional manholes this year, if you give me your budget, the budget authority, I do suggest keeping it around 50 and not necessarily increasing our budget, because I think it's important to keep that other budgeted funds for sewer line point repairs, for lining projects, for sewer line cleaning. We continue to do those projects, and 50 per year is a good number. I mentioned that we've done 264 in the past, and we went back to look at some of those manholes that have been rehabilitated over the past few years when we've done maintenance in our system, or we've had sewer line cleaning in those areas. And you look at the manholes, because when they do the sewer line cleaning, they get to a manhole and they put their video up, and you can actually see the structure. Or when we go out and we pull a manhole lid off and say, okay, 2 years ago that was done, it still looks like the day it was completed. So I think it's a great program. This is a new visual. This wasn't here last week. This was I said I'd bring it along. This visual shows manholes that have been completed during the previous years and includes the 2023 proposed in light green and in red, those additional 40. So from 2014, I mentioned 2014, there was a few done. You can see those are in orange, kind of up along Broadway and down along Highway 40 by Vine. But in 2018, we started our yearly program, and we had picked the ones that were in the waterways that had the most damage, or the larger collector lines. So when you see them that are spread out in different areas, you can kind of see where that was. So for instance, Lincoln Draw area, we did all these in here as part of that project. So those are sealed up, groundwater's not getting into those, and those are in good shape. So we kind of did it all over, picked the worst of the worst, and then what we started with in 2022 is let's start moving from south to north in our system, because those down there were put in the 40s and the 50s, and we've already got 70 years out of them, but they are showing signs of needing repair. So my intention is to kind of move north. It looks like we're a lot further along than we are. You know, when you think 2,200 manholes, and we've done 264, so I expect that it's going to take a while to fill that screen up. We received 2 bids for the program. For the 60 manholes, when we opened bids, low bid for MS2A was Mayor Specialty Services of Goddard, Kansas, $101.50 per vertical foot. The additional polyurethane product would be used in the higher corrosive environments, as I mentioned, and we estimate that there are 20 of those 60 that will need that additional treatment. When you factor in the additional treatment, the mobilization, the total base project to complete just the 60 manholes identified is $89,791.50. The selection of the additional 40 manholes When we looked at those will only require MS2A. We do not need to do polyurethane on those. The math with the mobilization comes out to $122,271.50. It is sometimes kind of difficult to look at it because everything is bid based on the vertical foot. And if you look at the 60, that's 461 vertical feet. 100 manholes is $781 or 781 vertical feet in those manholes. The bidding, or if awarded tonight, the intention for Mayor Specialty Services is to start in May. Originally, they estimated it would go through August, go through July. With the addition of these 40, it would take them into August to complete all those 100 manholes. As I mentioned before, Mayor Specialty Services, they've completed this project for Hayes 2019, 2020, 21, and 2022, and the work has been excellent, and we'd love to work with them again. So we have $125,000 budgeted in the repairs and maintenance line item. We are again requesting your approval to spend up to $125,000. These are your three options, and this is the action I would request, and I would stand for your questions.
I move we authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Mayor Specialty Services to complete the 2023 manhole rehabilitation program with a budget not to exceed $125,000 to be funded from the repairs and maintenance line item in the water reclamation and reuse budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Jeff?
Jeff, with us using low flow toilets, wash machines, numerous things, does that affect, I don't want to say this, the lack of water use that we have in the city of Hayes? Is that?
Well, the best thing I could tell you is we still see flow into our sewer system. So
Right.
on an average day, we produce 1.2 million gallons at the water treatment plant. So you think some of it's going on yards.
Right.
Most of that's going down the sewer system. Jason, at his facility, is probably treating 1.5, closer to 2 million gallons per day. So we are getting the flows into our sanitary sewer system. Lately, and I mentioned this last week, lately our flows have reduced because I think the groundwater table has had something to do with it, and that INI is not getting into our system. But I haven't seen that the reduction from low flow toilets necessarily has affected our sewer line system.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is like the manholes, where they're damaged over years. Does it affect us more than a city that uses a lot more water, or is it basically the same?
If there was more sewage flowing through the system, you would probably see additional issues with some of those manholes because of hydrogen sulfide and just additional flow.
Okay.
You may see that, but there's a lot of systems that are not even doing a lot of maintenance to their system or rehabilitating these things, and we're extending the life out of those assets.
Is there, very many communities our size doing what we're doing that you know of?
I know I've talked to my counterpart in Garden City, and they are doing some of the similar work in Garden City. So they have their different programs, but they would be somewhat comparable, a little bit bigger than us.
So, unlike where we're starting the second round with the sewers, manholes, this is our first time through,
Yes.
correct? So, if we were going at a rate of 50 a year, it would still be another 38 years before some of these manholes had anything done to them. And if they might have been done in the 60s, but that's still going to put them another 38 years out before we reach all of them on our first pass through. And I was just wondering, even if we did them at 100 a year, like we're doing 100 this year, we got 22 years.
Right.
So even if there's a 50 year, if we did 55 or 53 year, we got 41 years. So basically, we got 40 to 45 years, the way you've got it scheduled now, which is fine. But for my taste, it'd be nice to get them through in 35 years.
If we want to accelerate it to 100, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I just want to make sure we're continuing to budget for those other things. That when we find the problems, that we are taking care of them. But we can certainly look at that for next year's program.
Well, I was just thinking, if we're end up being able to spend less on the sewers because we're on the second pass and third pass, 15 years from now, we've gone through them 3 times, that we might be able to up the number of manhole covers in the future.
Good
Okay,
point.
we'll look at that.
Yeah, if our point repairs need goes down a little bit, then we could reallocate some of those dollars to this.
And then we'll be here. You can give us an update.
Sean will
I
be
don't
here.
We'll all see you then.
Okay. Well, any
Am-
other questions or comments on that?
I just want to clarify to make sure I understand correctly. You're picking the manholes based on the video you're obtaining when you do the sewer cleaning?
Video is part of it. You can
Okay.
see, most of the time they look up at that manhole, they can see daylight, but for the most part, it's taking the lid off and actually
Okay,
physically
and actually
looking at that manhole and looking at the structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't necessarily have a mapped out plan like you do with the sewer linings, that we're just going to do the section because you're evaluating which ones are
Right.
on a need basis.
Right, and
Okay.
and the age and just the general condition, and that they've been there for 70 years. It's really, I understand, we want to try to get that ball moving and get them caught up as quick as we can, but yeah, I think we've got a pretty good program going that we've selected them.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that next time we'll go at 13th Street and continue. That may be the case, but we just have to continue. We're already building a list for next year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jeff, one last thing. Jason, are you able to see, like, if you have a manhole that has a lot of concrete that's broken down, flowing through, are you able to see that coming through the wastewater plant, or is it not enough in there to even notice it?
It kind of depends on what location it would be coming from, whether it be close to the plant, a high enough big collector,
Sure.
or a smaller line, because usually, once it falls out, it's kind of out.
Right.
It stays at the bottom. But we do get debris.
Yeah.
In our networks. The
Yep.
annual cleanings would catch up with a lot of that too.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, when they clean the sewer lines, they collect all that stuff as they pull the nozzle back through. They collect it in the manhole and pump it out. So a lot of those concrete fall-ins would go down in there. They get picked up.
They get picked up, okay. I'm just curious, thanks.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Jeff. Now on to the Highway 40 lift station.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. Capital improvement plan within our 2023 budget includes $200,000 in it to retrofit a sanitary sewer lift station on Highway 40. The location and condition of this current lift station is subject to infiltration from groundwater and at times stormwater flooding. After the budget preparation was complete for the calendar of 2023, as we know, USD 49 passed a bond project, and this is to construct the new high school out there next to Hayes High. And this is within our service area of that lift station. Given the potential for the increased flow, city staff solicited proposals from qualified engineering firms for design and engineering of a lift station that's adequately sized to accommodate current and future flows in this area. This is where the lift station is currently located, on the south and east portion of Hayes along Highway 40. Lift station primarily serves properties east of line from Hayes Medical Center down to Hayes High. It's not Canterbury, all of Canterbury, because some of that flow does go over towards the west, but that's the primary line. Includes Hayes High School, includes Commerce Parkway, also includes the airport property. Currently, our system has 4 lift stations. We have 2 on the west side and 2 on the east side. Here's a closer view of the lift station area. I included this one because you can see on the right side there's an 18-inch sanitary sewer line, gravity line that is east of Hayes High, comes from 13th Street, runs all the way down here, crosses property, and it actually goes right into the Highway 40 lift station where it's at currently. We expect the flows to increase to that lift station with construction or the project. Here's another closer view right to the east of this lift station. You can see there's a waterway that goes under Highway 40. Here are 2 visuals I believe I included in your packet. The existing lift station was originally constructed in 1984. The visual on the left shows the lift station cover, and it's next to one of our newer generators the Commission has previously approved. The visual on the right shows the pumps and the electrical controls for the lift station. The pumps and the electrical controls are partially recessed underground, and this station has been subject to flooding in the past. We've had flooding from the creek. We've also, really one of the main issues, not only that, is the wet well. We call them the wet well underneath that collects the sewer. It does have some issues with it where it's allowing groundwater to come in to seep into that station. The station is in the FEMA floodway. The station currently operates about 7 hours per day, which is an average operation. I kind of talked about the fact that with the groundwater reduction with drought and the lack of flow in there, we're not seeing infiltration into that as much. So 7 hours is typically what we see on a 24-hour period. This is not the greatest visual, as I mentioned last week, but it does show the pumps and controls that were flooded due to a high water event a few years ago. We had to bring in our jet vac truck, and we removed stormwater from it. We also started pumping out the wet well to make sure that all sewer was continuing to flow, and that allowed for our staff to get the station up and running again. As I mentioned, with the passing of the USD 489 bond, the increase, we know that there's going to be increased sanitary sewer flow to this lift station, and that's why it was important that we get some proposal going for design and engineering and flow analysis. So the scope of services for this would be a study and data collection phase where the current and future flows will be modeled to ensure correct station sizing. We will be sure to, as mentioned last week, to discuss with the engineer any possible future, we have current development in that area on 22nd Street, but any future development will be discussed. Mayor Reuter, you kind of asked about potential costs last week. And right now, we don't know what size that lift station is going to be, but our estimate's somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000. So we will have to make sure that we're budgeting accordingly for 2024. The station will be raised above FEMA floodway elevation, should be in its current location or right near it. The design we will remove vacuum prime pumps and replace with more flood resistant submersible pumps. We anticipate the study phase and design phase to be in 2023, and then I would come back in front of commission in 2024 for a award of construction project. Staff solicited fee-based proposals from engineering firms for design services, and on March 10th, we opened 3. Earls Engineering out of McPherson, Wilson and Company out of Salina, and Bartlett and West out of Topeka. So the low parent bid is $52,200. While the city has not worked with Earls Engineering directly before, they have completed similar and larger projects in the state of Kansas. And up on your screen, Liberal, Pittsburgh, Hugoton, and Ulysses, all in Kansas. Some of these were lift stations, force mains, so similar work. Also, they've done design projects on complete wastewater treatment facilities. Jason Riegel, our superintendent of water reclamation and reuse, performed those reference checks. They all had positive reviews of Earls, and then he went a step above, contacted some of the contractors we worked with during our project at our wastewater treatment plant, and had favorable reviews of Earls Engineering and their work. So we're comfortable with proceeding. $52,200 cost and design of engineering would be paid from water reclamation capital. Tonight you have 3 options: award it to Earls Engineering, provide alternate direction, or do nothing. And this is the action I would request, and I would stand for your questions.
I move to authorize the city manager to enter an agreement with Earls Engineering in the amount of $52,200 for engineering services related to the design of the Highway 40 sanitary sewer pump station to be funded from water reclamation capital.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this item?
When that was originally built in '84, why would they not have built it above the floodplain?
I tried to
sure, but-
see where that was, and our records don't indicate the reason why. I mean, obviously for quite a few years it's operated as it should.
Right.
It's just that the wet well is starting to see some infiltration, and it's become an issue now, but it's not uncommon. A lot of communities our size, they may have 30 or 40 lift stations, and they're designed in similar fashion, that they're recessed underground.
Okay.
Did we have flood maps prior to '86?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
There were? Okay. We just took that.
And we
one.
knew that was a floodplain in '84 too. I guess it was just cost.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Gotcha. Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Vote motion passes
Good job,
5-0.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well talking.
Yep. KDOT grant opportunity for multi-use path.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. And so a year ago, the City of Hayes staff submitted some preliminary information to KDOT concerning 3 proposed multi-use path extensions. This was done in advance of a possible transportation alternatives grant cycle, where KDOT requested this information from communities in order to provide feedback on the proposed projects. City staff did receive valuable feedback. However, we did not pursue a TA or transportation alternative grant at the time, so we could properly budget for it. And so actually in our capital improvement plan right now in 2025, there's 300,000 programmed with the intent when we built the budget that we would apply for a 2024 transportation alternative grant. Fortuitously, KDOT contacted staff in late February 2023 about some additional funding that they had. The carbon reduction program is what it is. It's federal money through the bipartisan infrastructure law. And they've proactively approached us and notified us that they have approximately $1,548,000 in federal funds for construction of additional multi-use paths, and they were hoping we would provide them our projects again, which we've
Would
happily.
you like one of those calls every day, Colin?
Yeah, typically they don't tell you what they're going to give you, or willing to give you, I should say. So currently the city does have about 4.1 miles of multi-use paths throughout the community that are either completed or under construction. The small sections like on 27th Street near Thunderbird. You have seen this visual before. It's the master vision of what the multi-use path trails and or multi-use paths would look like in the city to eventually loop the entire community.
Colin?
Yes.
On this visual,
Yeah.
I know you'll talk about it a little bit with some of the options. Which pieces on there would require, I guess, property owner input on giving us some space?
Of all those,
Yeah.
I would say most of them.
Most of them. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
You'd be surprised the amount of right-of-way we have, but they've
Yeah.
all got choke points we're gonna have to acquire right-of-way.
Okay.
I think we've never done that, but that's follows Chitola Creek, right? So I mean, that might be the one that would have the least. But other than that, bypass should be fairly easily. You could use KDOT right away, but I assume. But for the most part, hopefully it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, we would have to work with property owners to acquire easements.
Okay. Thank you.
So the 3 multi-use path extensions that city staff submitted KDOT in 2022 are the 41st Street path, or the red route, which is 41st Street from Hall Divine, the West Connector path, which is from 41st to 27th, or the blue route, and then the Sternberg path, which we've put here as yellow, which would go from Vine Street to Sternberg. Each section is approximately 1 mile, and with the level of funding the city can do from the federal government, or from the state, I should say, plus the city's portion, we could do the red route plus one other. The red route does have the fewest conflict points because most of it's in a right-of-way that we already have. But both the blue and yellow routes could require minor easement or right-of-way dedications in certain areas. This is an 80-20 program, so KDOT has set aside just under $1,548,000. A 20% share would be $385,000 from the city. However, staff is recommending an additional $115,000 in contingency for a $500,000 match for unforeseen expenses, possibly including land property acquisition. As I said, or since we put this in the CIP for 2025, the budget in 2024 will be reprioritized, so we can get that $300,000 from there. That will require an additional $200,000 that we'll have to budget from most likely some other source, perhaps special highway or commission capital reserve. Our intent would be to replenish those funds in future years to pay that back. And then we will come back to the commission with the funding source recommendation at time of bid award. So the options are approve a resolution of support for the red and yellow, approve a resolution of support for the red and blue, or direct staff otherwise. If you choose to approve a resolution, submit a project form, this will go to KDOT so they can put it on their state transportation improvement plan, which has to be approved by the federal government. Assuming all that goes smoothly, staff will work with KDOT on the next steps to implement or initiate the project. Based on last week's discussion at the work session, the City Commission did provide consensus to apply for the red and yellow routes. So that is why I'm showing that this visual. And then the action requested is to approve the red and yellow.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-007 and the submission of the KDOT request for project form for the red and yellow routes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the chief colored routes. Any other questions?
You'll want to come again, Amanda.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question. On all the multi-use paths that we have in place already, have we had to acquire right-of-way?
That requires some history that I don't
We
have.
acquired some right-of-way from the school district to cross the Hayes High campus. And then we acquired, I believe, some right-of-way from Fort Hayes on the Dyke Path.
Have they gifted it to us?
Well, I don't think we paid them for it. I think it was just an agreement.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. to
And
know.
then on the 41st Street path and and on 27th Street, we own that right-of-way already.
Okay, thank you.
That shouldn't be impacted at the Hayes High campus with the new school, because that's behind where they're doing construction, right?
But you have $115,000 to acquire rights right by the Sternberg, right?
Yeah, I actually, no, and you say that, though, I would actually like to get it past Sternberg and maybe figure out a good route to get it up to 27th Street and ready for Doug's Grove project to tie it in. If that means we have to marry it into some existing sidewalks, widen them out a little bit, and move forward, I definitely want to explore that, especially if we got an engineer on board.
Any other questions or comments?
How many property owners on the yellow route do you have to acquire property from?
Well, we don't know if we'll have to acquire any. Perhaps they'll provide us an easement, but right now there is one conflict, and that would be depending on which way we go. But we know for sure there's one, and that's Sundance Apartments,
Okay.
which Project Manager Brown has been in contact with them about allowing us to go through their property, and I think conversation so far they realize the benefit it'd be, for the residents in the
Oh,
community.
it'd be
So
great for the
it's been we haven't received any negative feedback.
Okay, excellent.
There are no more questions or comments. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
All right. Toby, I think you have something for us real quick.
I have a couple just quick updates. If you drive down Main Street and cross the railroad tracks and look left or right, you may see some misshapen trees, some misshapenly trimmed trees. Please don't blame the Parks Director on that. Union Pacific hired a tree trimming crew, and they kind of butchered a few of our trees. So
Do they know Jeff?
Jeff caught wind of it and gave him a piece of his mind, among other things, and made it very clear that we were going to have to probably take some trees down as a result of their actions.
Wow.
And so whatever's down, we'll put back up. I don't think the trees were in any way near their right-of-way. I mean, as far as their operational right-of-way, so we're a little miffed that they did it. But I just wanted you guys to be aware that it happened. We didn't like it. We've voiced our displeasure. Unfortunately, the Union Pacific's this nation's largest landowner, and that land was given to them, a lot of it before Kansas became a state. So we don't have a lot of power over them when it comes to something like this, except to try to voice our displeasure.
Wow. Didn't know that.
The second thing is, I've been made aware that Ellis County is going to be talking about the bridge on 12th Street at the County Commission meeting Monday. The County Commission talked about the possibility of closing that bridge last year. And so this is right at the city limits, right behind the TMP ball fields where 12 transitions into the county. It's an old bridge in need of replacement. The county doesn't want to spend the money to replace, but they have other areas that they could focus on the money. We don't want the bridge because then we would have to replace it. And it's not going to hold up to heavy traffic probably too much longer. We have let the county know the last time they talked about this that we would be interested in possibly taking the bridge as a pedestrian and multi-use path connector. it'd be fine for bikes and people to get across as a form of conveyance. And given the possibility of some multi-use paths on the west side, it may come in handy, but we've made it very clear we don't want it as a bridge, just to take care of. But we understand their decision to talk about the possibility of closing it. There's a perfectly fine, relatively new bridge, 1 block south of it, actually a half a block south of it. And that bridge will handle all of the traffic that's going west, and so the 12th Street Bridge is not a necessity. So I just wanted you guys to be aware in case you hear something, or it was mentioned in the county commission meeting that we had told them we would be willing to accept the 12th Street Bridge as a pedestrian conveyance.
And there's been no landowner problems that say, don't do that? Don't
Oh,
do
I
that."
think there's a few landowners that live immediately west of there that would like to keep it open, because it's quicker for them to get to and from town that way. But I think,
they still have access.
yeah, I mean, if it's closed, they would have to take a right-hand turn at Rome, basically, the
Right.
Rome sign, go 50 feet, take a left-hand turn, and come into town on 8th Street. So it's not a significant inconvenience if it does close.
It's a great idea for the multi-use path, though.
And that was all I had.
Thank you, Joby. Those trees that they'll pay for, $1 million a piece, right?
That's what Boyle is going after them for.
Good, good.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Good, good. Got to get our trees back. All right, commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Cunningham.
I don't really have anything tonight. I wish I could be less windy, but we live in Kansas.
I like that wish.
I know.
Me too.
Commissioner Barrett.
Enjoy the warmth.
Commissioner Jacobs.
I just have one little thing. I have spent a lot of time with my years on this commission talking about the skill set of all of our staff. Today, I'd like to talk about the integrity and the character of our staff in the city. I was part of a funeral train that went from St. Mary's Church to Shinshin this week, and it was lengthy. And we had workers, I didn't count them, but probably 8 to 10 to 12 between 15th and Vine and 13th and Vine. And as the funeral train passed, every one of them had stopped their work, removed their hats, and put them on their chest. And I was really proud to say that those guys work for the city. Please pass that along best you can.
That's amazing.
That's touching.
Wow. Commissioner Musil.
I got 4 items, all right?
Oh,
They're small. I just want to touch on the 13th Street, the continued partnership with the county on the road. I think that's important with, a lot of things moving forward. Them kind of, I know we'll be taking over it, but they have kind of skin in the game on that. So appreciate that very much. And I don't know if any of you seen it on Hayes Post, kind of had a preliminary design of the new school. I think it's phenomenal. It's exciting. I know there'll still be some adjustments, but I think it's great. And, it definitely looks like a campus out there, and I think it's going to be nice. So, one thing that, and maybe some of you guys have heard this, I don't know. I actually have some family members getting ready to move to Hayes, and they've been looking for house, condos, whatever. And I guess this is very common, so I guess this is more an FYI to our community. Kelly Leiker, thank goodness, she kind of contacted us, but I don't know how to say it, but I'd call them scumbags. There are people looking for houses, and I'm not going to mention the name because it doesn't matter the company. It was online, but they prey on elderly or young people, and so these people, we were interested in this house, and they said, yeah, just send your Social Security number and all this stuff, which are like yikes, and stuff. And then we contacted. We were going to have an attorney look at it all. And then Kelly said, don't do it. This is a very common thing that's happened not only in Hayes and everywhere. So for our community, for people looking at stuff, I mean, I know most people know not to do that, but, for the elderly is, please don't ever give somebody your Social Security number. I know some apartments, I think they require that for background checks, but we weren't harmed by it. Thank God we stopped in time, but it just blows my mind that there's people out there, even in a community like ours, that does that. So, I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know who it was that did it, but and Kelly, she had actually contacted us like at 10:30 at night and said, "Hey, please don't do anything." And she had said this has been happening quite a bit. So I don't think there's anything we can do in the city because I don't think we have nothing to do with it. But it's just saddens me that happens in this town. But and then I guess for me personally, Tuesday I had a Facebook memory pop up that I've served 10 years on this board. And just like, wow. And I looked at a picture. I was sitting right there, Reese,
Oh.
and my hair was almost as dark as yours.
Don't look at those.
So you look like a baby.
Yeah, kind of, kind of. But and like you were saying, this commission, I've served with some wonderful commissioners and staff. Taught me so much about our community and the people you get to represent, and so it's very proud to be part of this, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. But thank you guys for letting me continue to serve with you guys. That's all we got.
Of course. It's been an honor to serve with you. Appreciate it. And the rest of you as well. Not just Sean.
That's snorted.
Yeah. Only thing I have is tomorrow morning, or not tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Double check the calendar for sure. I get the opportunity to welcome the League of Kansas Municipalities Kansas Mayors Association to Hayes. They're going to be out at Hilton, so there's going to be a bunch of mayors from Kansas all over town. So I get to show them that we have the best town in the whole state. David McDaniel, the mayor of Ellis, is the one hosting it, so I'll give him second place. But it's nice to see things like that coming to town and all the fun stuff happening. And the heat showed up quick. Now we just need the rest of the rain to show up. I listened to Holly's update this morning on the radio with the drought report, and we've been moved to what, exceptional? Is that what it's called now? Yeah. This is the only time we don't want to be exceptional is when we're in a drought. So please conserve your water. It's getting dry. Don't overwater. Your lawn will be okay, I promise. If it looks like mine, you're doing it right, which is just dirt.
Mine too.
No executive sessions? Nope. Then we will adjourn at 5:26.